trying to find the iconic elements of everyday life, trying to work with installation art as a way of, this was literally called a gnomon, or device for knowledge, working with the notion of the museum as both a treasure house and a place of exposition, of display in as wide a way as possible, trying to push the boundaries of what the architecture museum are here in a Hoyne, in which the archive and the restoration process were actually an integral part of the display itself, messing with the very building of the institution itself. And these are images from various institutions I worked at MoMA in this case, NEI, and other places. And most recently I got, of course, the biggest playground available in the realm of architecture, and that's the Venice Biennale, to commission a series of installations where I asked what to me is the question I find most interesting, which is how can we reveal, appropriate, and domesticate those systems that are mainly of a technological order which control our daily lives, and how can we do it in such a way that we can feel at home in the modern world, not in the house, not comfortable, but at home in the modern world, and engage in a series of, or engage architects to create a series of installations in that mode. Most recently, I have pushed that beyond what one might think of just as the realm of architecture in a show that just closed at the Yvonne in Valencia, which I curated there as part of a constellation of shows called Confines, or Borders. And Gideon Fig Shapiro, who was in the audience today, actually did most of the work. But I set it up as a riff on the Eames Power of 10, talking about the show, and I just show this as the latest thing that I've been thinking about. Looking at the powers of 10 as a way of altering one's perception by how things are framed, and questioning the solidity of objects from the molecular level and the level of code to the way in which it can produce its completely own structures. Not all of these works actually made it into the show, some of them were too complex to get inside the building. To question the very notion of what constitutes a human being and a singular artifact through a number of objects and artifacts, and even objects of fashion, work by Hussein Shalan here, Jürgen Meyer's tattooing of the security envelopes, and of course Marcus Novak's use of the hand as a way to visually describe spaces, all the way to the kind of veiling and decomposition of buildings through the use of everyday objects. They're melting into other things and other forms. They're kind of cancerous proliferation, both in a very aesthetic manner and in a social manner. I'm sure that many of these images are familiar to you as specialists in architecture. I think some of them, at least, were not familiar to a more general audience, and I try to bring them in contact with similar installations that have been held in other forms of art or other media, and find a way to create what in the end were kind of cosmic maps of our society. Mark Bradford, who thinks of his work as quite literally not only a collaging of Los Angeles, but a mapping of that city. Meritu, finally kind of mandalas that try, again, in a very romantic way to place oneself in one's environment.